So our next speaker is Dr. Dishank Patel. He's a diabetologist at Glucowell Diabetes Center, Vadodara. Over to you, Dishank, sir.
Good morning, all the delegates. First of all, I would like to thank Dr. Mayur Patel, sir, and Dr. Yash Patel for inviting me as a faculty for this digitally organized SwaSthyaCon 2021. So in this session, we are talking about the past, present, and future of different OADs. And here I am going to talk about the same thing about the SGLT2 inhibitors. So let me go into the history of the SGLT2 inhibitors so that you will understand how it is developed. Basically, they were developed from the compound known as a florizine. It was a naturally occurring bicyclic flavonoid which was obtained from the apple bark tree. And then we have a derivatives of the florizines which we are using clinically like rimogliflozin O glucosides and Cana-DAPA and MPAR C glucosides. Now, if we talk about in India, the first SGLT2 inhibitor which was available was canagliflozin in 2015, and then other were followed in 2015, and lastly we had a rimogliflozin in 2019. So if we talk about the treatment guidelines of type 2 diabetes, until 2015, the guidelines were focusing mainly on the management of the hyperglycemia. They were not talking about the cardiovascular protection, renal protection, because we did not have that molecules on the cards. But now, since the publication of the EMPA-REG trial in 2015, we have evidence that many anti-diabetic agents can not only decrease the blood sugar, but also can produce the cardiovascular benefits. So the guidelines are now also changed. I will show you the example of 2013 guidelines. This is the 2013 ACE guidelines, where you can clearly see the place of the SGLT2 inhibitors are fifth on the hierarchy. This hierarchy also represents the preference of use. So in the preference, they had given the preference number 5 for the SGLT2 inhibitors. And here you can see the exclamation mark, which says that use with caution. So that was the status of this molecule back in 2013. But now many things are changed after that because many new trials are published, and we are going to talk about the same, that what evidence which we have for these molecules currently. So currently we have a cardiovascular outcome trials for these molecules like EMPA-REG with empagliflozin, CANVAS and DECLARE-TIMI trial. We also have a renal outcome trials like CREDENCE with the canagliflozin and DAPA-CKD. And we also have the heart failure outcome trials with these molecules like DAPA-HF and EMPEROR-Reduce. So all these trials are published starting from 2015, 2018, 19 and 20, and the evidence are building up and building up. So because of these new evidences, the guidelines are now also changed, and they are giving the preference for these molecules that I will show you in the later, where I will show you the 2020 guidelines. But before that, we'll go through the trials, the CVOT trials of the SGLT2 inhibitors. So this is the slide which represents the meta-analysis of the CVOT trials, where you can see this is the outcome of MACE, 3-point MACE, where all the three SGLT inhibitors can significantly reduce the 3-point MACE in the patients who have established cardiovascular disease. But the benefit is not there in the patient who did not have the established cardiovascular disease. Similarly, the hospitalization for the heart failure is also significantly reduced in all the three CVOT trials of the SGLT inhibitors. And here you can see the benefits in reducing the hospitalization for the heart failure, both group. The secondary prevention group, that is the patients with established cardiovascular disease, as well as primary prevention, where the patient only had the risk factors but did not have the established cardiovascular disease. So in both the groups, there was a significant reduction in the hospitalization for the heart failure. Similarly, you can also see here the renal benefits, whether the patient is having the secondary prevention group or primary prevention group. In both the groups, these molecules can reduce the renal outcomes or renal events by almost 40%. So these are the outcomes, the brief outcomes from the CVOT trials. Now we'll look at the renal outcome trials. So here we have two trials, DAPA-CKD and CREDENCE. You can see in the CREDENCE trial, the patients were only diabetic kidney disease. So here the diabetic patients with kidney disease were enrolled, while in the DAPA-CKD, patients of CKD, whether the patient had diabetes or did not have a diabetes, were enrolled. So it was a mixed population. Now, if you see the outcome of the credence and DAPA CKD, in the credence, there was a 30% reduction in primary endpoint of ESKD, doubling of serum creatinine and renal CV death, with a significant p-value. Similarly, in the DAPA CKD, where we had a mixed population, here also we had a 39% reduction in primary outcome. So in both the trials, the results are quite encouraging. Similarly, now let us look at the heart failure outcome trials. Here also we have two trials, DAPA-HF with the dapagliflozin and EMPEROR reduced with the empagliflozin. Here they enroll the patients who have a NYHA class 2, 3, 4 heart failure with reduced ejection fractions less than 40%. And here also only 55% patients had a diabetes in DAPA-HF and only 50% had diabetes in EMPEROR reduced. So here you can see the outcomes. The primary endpoint was risk of CV death or hospital heart failure, which was significantly reduced in both the trials, in both the groups, whether the patient had diabetes or did not have diabetes. It was reduced by almost 26% here and 25% here. So here also we had a benefit. And because of this trials, now the guidelines are changed. Now, if you can see the 2020 as guidelines, earlier I showed you 2013 guidelines. Now the SGLT2 inhibitors are in number 3 position. Earlier it was number 5, now it is number 3 everywhere. Here it is a number 2, here it is number 2. And there is a green mark here. That means the molecules with safety, there is no caution required now. They are the molecules with safety. Similarly, now we have a ADA 2020 guidelines, where after the metformin, if your patient is having the established cardiovascular disease, CKD or heart failure, you can prefer the SGLT2 inhibitors as a primary molecule for treatment after the metformin therapy. And they are given the preference over the DPP4 inhibitor, thiazolidine diamycin sulfonylurea. So that is how the guidelines are changed because of these evidences nowadays. And if you see the FDA approved indications for these molecules, not only for type 2 diabetes, the EMPA is approved for reducing the CV death, DAPA is approved for reducing the hospital for the heart failure, as well as for the heart failure itself. CANA is approved for the reduction in the MACE, as well as for the DKD patients, diabetic kidney disease patients. So not only for diabetes, but these molecules are now approved for the other indications also for cardiovascular or cardiorenal benefits. So now let us look into the future of these molecules. There are many trials which are underway for these molecules. This is the empagliflozin EMPEROR program, where you can see the EMPEROR PRESERVE trial is to be taken in chronic heart failure with preserved ejection fractions. IMPULSE trial in patients of acute heart failure. EMPA kidney, this is the renal outcome trial, and IMPACT MI trial, where they are going to evaluate the patients who have acute MI to reduce the chronic heart failure or mortality in adults. So this is the empagliflozin development program, and this is similarly dapagliflozin development program, where they are also evaluating the similar indications for dapagliflozin. Not only cardiovascular renal benefits, but they have also shown the NAFLD and NAS benefit. Here I will show you the trial of empagliflozin, where EMPA was used in patients of type 2 diabetes with non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. And you can see at the end of the trial, there was a 4% reduction in the liver fat with the empagliflozin as compared to placebo therapy. Similarly, where it was used in the patients of NASH along with type 2 diabetes, there was an improvement in the ballooning, NASH resolution, fibrosis improvement, and fibrosis resolution. So patients of NAFLD and NASH were benefited. Similarly, we have trials in the OSA, obstructive sleep apnea. Here the patients was having the type 2 diabetes along with CVD. And in these patients, empagliflozin reduced the chances of getting the OSA by 52%. So it was a preventive trial of OSA. Similarly, we have a curative trial for the dapagliflozin, where it was used for the patients of type 2 diabetes along with OSA, and where they produced a significant reduction in the glucose, BMI, blood pressure, AHI, and improved the hypoxemia also. They also decreased the excessive daytime sleepiness in this trial. So with the DAPA and EMPA, we also have the evidence for the OSA and NAS and NAFLD. So this can be the future potential indications for these molecules. These molecules can be available in the future for the treatment of heart failure with reduced infections, with preserved ejection fraction. Maybe patients of post-MI may be getting benefited in the future trials. We may see the indications for the post-MI patients. CKD trials, CKD patients, the patient who did not have the diabetes but only CKD. Maybe these molecules have a bright future in these patients. NAFLD and NAS, where we do not have any promising molecules, there also these molecules have shown the promise, and OSA. So these are the potential future indications where we might see the approval in the future from the FDA. So these SGLT2 inhibitors can become an apple which can keep a doctor away. Because you remember the fluorescein compound was originally from the apple bark tree, and these are the derivatives of the fluorescein. So this can be a truly an apple which can keep the doctors away with many of indication in the future. Thank you very much for your presence hearing. Now we can have the question and answers for the discussion. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Dishank Patel.